Welcome to the Heal Deal Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Leona Allen, and I'm here to help you achieve more freedom in your health and your life. I'm the founder of Freedom Health Systems, and I've been a licensed chiropractor and wellness coach for over 2 decades. I've helped men, women, and children transform their lives by removing the physical, chemical, and emotional barriers to natural healing. Every week, I'll be taking you on a journey where you will discover the real truth behind what it takes to heal your mind, body, and soul. Allow me to be your guide as you travel this road to renewed health and a new life. It's time to make a deal with yourself to heal yourself. Please keep in mind that this podcast is for educational purposes only and not to be used as a replacement for medical diagnosis or treatment. With that said, let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Heal Deal Podcast. So for those of you who are joining me for the first time, welcome. And for those who are my regular listeners, thank you for joining me once again. I'm your host, Dr. Leona Allen. And as promised, I always keep it good. I keep it real to help you achieve more freedom in your health and your life. But what I want you to do is imagine if your body held the key to healing itself without expensive treatments, endless medications, or invasive procedures. What if the answers had been hidden in plain sight for centuries? Well, my guest has an answer to that question. Alejandra Garcia, founder of Sol Garcia Health, a hub for holistic health and functional medicine, is here today. She is a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and longevity medicine specialist who helps people break free from the effects of nutrition deficiencies, inflammation, and environmental toxins using natural, affordable remedies. And today we're going to explore the fascinating world of homeopathy, its ancient practice, and how it activates the body's natural potential to heal. So, welcome, Alejandra. I'm very happy to have you here today. But before we go into answering all those questions, because I got questions too, I know you're going to help me out today. But tell us a little bit more about who you are, a little bit about your story, your journey, and how you got into homeopathy.
Yes, I'd love to. First of all, thank you so much for having me. This is a lot of fun. Homeopathy really is my passion. I think I have always the brain of a homeopath. And I'm so excited to dive into this huge topic and what got me into this. I started this journey into natural medicine when I became a mom. My firstborn was, first of all, I had all 3 home births, and then my firstborn was born with eczema. But for some reason, when she reached an age of 1 year old, it went away on its own. It wasn't too severe. Unfortunately, my second born, my son, it came on within like 4 months old, and it was severe. And really, life was completely turned upside down. And then luckily, I had my mother-in-law who was in training to become a medically licensed doctor. She pointed me towards homeopathy. I never heard of it. I just Googled it, found someone in my town because my son had the open sore weeping kind of oozing kind of eczema. So I was really fearful of him getting a staph infection on top with those open sores. And when I would nurse him, that honey colored discharge would rub on my belly and make me insanely itchy. So I had an idea of what he was going through. And it had started as cradle cap, where your skin gets these flakes on the cap with like many babies do. It's very common and normal. It usually goes away on its own. But what happened is his skin started drying out from top to bottom. And within 4 weeks, his body was covered not just in dry skin, but those open sores. I mean, his eyes, his face. Thankfully, only the diaper area was cleared. So it was so alarming the how rapid this took on, how severe it got in such a short amount of time when he was born perfectly healthy baby boy. Um, And I just went through his whole entire environment. We had a dog, got rid of the dog, stopped using any kind of soap or like skincare products. I tried looking at my diet, journaling my diet. And when I went to see a pediatrician, he said it was my fault that he had this horrible eczema because he assumed I was eating whatever I wanted. And that's why he had this severe eczema. And then, of course, he wanted to give him all the vaccinations that he required because he was born at home. And he wouldn't listen. I said, I know he's allergic to all of these. He couldn't touch meat. I had done the food sensitivity testing. He could not tolerate eggs, and egg is found in some vaccinations. And so it just did not make sense. This doctor was not listening to me. So I walked out, didn't even pay. I just straight out walked out. And yeah, found a local homeopath. Within 6 months, his body, I could kiss his face because I couldn't even kiss his face. Mhm. So yeah, it was a huge transformation in such a short amount of time.
Wow, it's amazing what your body will, or not your body, what your mind and tells you to do when you're in that situation. I know there's mothers out there that have been through something like that, but fortunately you had someone in your life that can direct you into that
Yeah,
direction. So hopefully someone's listening and they're going through a similar thing and it can be like, wow, homeopathy, because that's not really a word that people wake up thinking about, or they don't understand it completely. So thank you for sharing that. I didn't know you went through that. And I'm assuming he's okay now, right?
yeah, yeah. And I did not have to go through an elimination diet and keep him from certain foods. He just became less and less sensitive to foods. And he has no food allergies. I mean, he's sensitive to like nuts, but he does not have that severe peanut allergy that so many children have. He doesn't have anything like that. He can pretty much consume whatever he wants. So that was a goal. For for sure, after the eczema went away.
I can't wait to hear the conclusion of this. So this led you to homeopathy. So before we start getting into homeopathy and how it helped with your family, what is homeopathy? If someone asked you that question, what is it? How would you answer that?
So homeopathy is a system of medicine that is over 250 years old, and it was started by this German doctor, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann. And he had like a dozen kids. He was trying to bring the bacon home to support his family. So what he opted to do was translate medical research. Now, Dr. Hahnemann was just such a brilliant mind. He spoke about 10 or a dozen languages, and he was just reading all this scientific research. And he ran into something that he decided he wanted to test out. So he read something about cinchona or Peruvian bark and how it could possibly help someone with scarlet fever. So, what he decided to do was to make his own compound of cinchona or Peruvian bark. In homeopathy, they use all the names of the remedies are in Latin because at that time, everyone, that was like the universal language. And he experimented on himself and giving him small doses of this. Well, guess what happened? He took small doses and gave himself scarlet fever over a length of time. Once he stopped taking that remedy, the the symptoms went away. So that is what in homeopathy is called approving. You take a healthy person and you introduce this substance, and it could be anything natural. So, plant, animal kingdom, and mineral kingdom. Those are the three basic categories of which homeopathic medicines are made from. And so then he went on to experiment with his entire family, adding on additional remedies. And what he did was he took very careful notation of what are the symptoms that would come up because in a healthy person, when they start taking this substance, because then that became what that remedy is able to cure. So most of the remedies don't just, it's not a this for that medicine. A lot of people confuse homeopathy with herbalism, and there is some overlay, right? So when you formulate an herbal remedy, you take a plant and you use certain parts of it, either the root, the leaf, or the stalk, or the entire plant, right? And you usually put it in a glass container with alcohol, for example, make tinctures, and then you have that herbal tincture. You let it sit, and you let the healing properties of the plant get into that liquid, and then that's how you get the herbal tincture. You use a dropper, you put it in your tea, and then you consume that tea. So that's how herbal remedies are made. Well, homeopathy takes it a couple of steps further, and so the first step is to decide which part of the remedy could be made from snake venom, like lachesis. The remedy can be made from a mineral such as salt, something like everyday table salt. You can take the poisonous part of a plant. One of the chemicals is called strychnine. There's several different plants that have that strychnine chemical component, but the different plants have different healing properties, even though it's still strychnine. That's just one example. So you take that part of the natural substance, whether that be a plant, animal, or mineral, and then you make some type of tincture. But then the next two steps are specific to homeopathy, which is going to be vigorous shaking. So you take that substance in the water and you shake it vigorously, and that is said to release its energy. Homeopathy, lots of homeopaths will tell you that homeopathy is energy medicine. And then the final step in which you produce a homeopathic remedy is to use the process of dilution. So homeopathy is really ultra diluted doses. So you would take, for example, 1 drop of that tincture and mix it with 99 drops of water. And so that's 1 centesimal dilution, right? And you do that again, you take of that concoction, you take another drop and again dilute it with another 99 drops of water. And you continue that process, and you can go to the store and pick up low potency. Here locally, natural food stores, they carry the Born Remedies, which is the largest manufacturer based in France of homeopathic remedies. And so you will commonly see a 6C or a 30C. Those are considered everyday, over the counter type low potency. And that's what you will find. Now, as professional, classically trained homeopaths will use much stronger potency, but here's the kicker. In homeopathy, the more diluted the remedy, the less of the original material substance that you can detect, the more potent it becomes. So you can't even measure an Avogadro number of the original substance that you use to create that remedy. Yeah, it's a little mind blowing because it's backwards from all the science that we know and understand. And for that reason, for some people, they just can't wrap their head around it, right? And
Well,
so,
that's good
really,
to know. That's good
mhm,
to know. I got a lot of cool nerds that are audience, so they wanna
it's
know this stuff, like,
nanodoses.
what are we really taking?
Yeah, it's nanodoses. And for that reason, if there's a remedy made out of apis, the bee venom, people that are allergic to bee stings will not have a reaction to the remedy because it's ultra diluted nanodoses, infinitesimal doses of the remedy. And that's how my son's eczema was completely reversed.
Wow. So that'll lead me to the next question. So now we know what a homeopathy is, how it's created, and how it's different than I'm glad you laid out the difference between herbs and homeopathy. I love that you did that because a lot of people kind of combine them and make it the same. So thank you for doing that. But how I guess you can use your son as an example. How did it work? How did
Right,
it,
right. So
metabolically
the
work?
main, yeah, the main, so Hahnemann was a prolific writer, and his book is called The Organon. And there you will understand all of his holistic principles. And I mean, if you read anything in his book, he'll talk about oral health, he'll talk about gut health. This is back in the 1800s, and he was laying down all these holistic principles. Um, and to include, of course, the homeopathic remedies and how they work and how to optimize how they work. Um, and so his main principle, the main principle that governs homeopathy is something called like cures like. And it's so interesting because anytime I learn more about science or nature, I see this happen everywhere. And we certainly know this, right? Like, for example, beets is red, right? Beets are red. They happen to be good for your blood too, purifying the blood, or for the heart. So that's one, everyday example. But in terms of homeopathy, the idea, there's two different examples I like to use. When you cut an onion, right? You're in the kitchen preparing dinner, slicing up that onion. What starts happening?
You cry.
Yes, you cry, your nose may get runny, and also those are symptoms that are similar to when we get a cold
I was about to say
or we
that.
get some allergy symptoms. So this remedy made from allium cepa is what it would be called, onion remedy, is a great remedy for where your nose is running like a faucet. Think allium cepa. Yeah. Another example would be coffea, which is a remedy made from coffee. What happens if you overdo it with coffee?
Hyper, can't
Yeah,
sleep.
you can't sleep at night. So coffea happens to also be a remedy for insomnia.
Oh, I love okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense. It's like I have a few homeopathy I don't know if I'm saying that right, homeopathic, I don't I have a few because you learn remedies in training, and I'll have a few things I know is good for this and good for that, but I didn't understand how that worked, like, it's really activating the thing that you're trying to get rid of. That is
right.
incredible. Oh, I wanna hear
Yeah.
more. So you
That's
got I'm
simple,
sorry, I just got
everyday,
excited.
like that's a great introduction to getting acquainted with homeopathy. But the reality is that it is a highly individualized form of medicine. So for my son, his remedy that was chosen is graphite, which is what, when they used to make the old school pencils, the lead was used to be made from real graphite back in the day. And so that is a remedy that cured him. And it was selected back then by my homeopath because of the open sore oozing type of eczema. There are many remedies. There's probably over 100 remedies for eczema, but you have to take the totality of symptoms. This is another term, homeopathic term. And so totality means the mental, emotional, and physical symptoms. And that's what I love, especially when you're working with children. They are nonverbal. They're not telling you it hurts here or, you have to be, a homeopath has to be a really good observer. And that's one of their highest skills, in addition to asking great questions and noticing symptoms that might not be, even important to regular medical doctors, because it's much more about understanding who this person is in front of you, even down to their sleep position. That's how specific the symptoms are. And I think why I had such success raising my kids this way, because I was really clued in and into observing what was normal for them when they're healthy and what was a departure from normal for them. So observing everything from hydration to their appetite, their sleep, the way they slept, if I heard them snoring, knowing what was normal from them And that's a great way to start learning homeopathy, is to observe what is different now than their normal optimal state of being. So if they normally drink lots of water and now they're like chugging it down, like they're frequent sleepers, but now they're sippers of water, but now they're like chugging it down like crazy, that's a departure from their normal state, even if they already drink a good amount of water. So that's a little example there. And so with graphite, going back to my son, this is another law of cure. The way he healed was putting in reverse the way the symptoms came on. So I mentioned that his cradle cap went from top to bottom. Well, guess what? The remedy, his skin improved top from bottom to top. It was crazy to watch. Like it was like hitting the reverse button,
That is
and how he's
fascinating.
and for him, we opted to go because he was an infant. He was going to remember. We opted to go more his treatment to go more move quickly, more robustly. So cure for him was, more highs and lows versus you can be more gradually and more careful. So we opted because we just wanted to get him better right away. And so for him, the way cure looked like, I already mentioned that it happened in reverse, the way it came on, the onset. And then also, too, with the ups and downs, he literally just woke up one day and his face was clear. I could kiss him for the first time since he was a baby. And that was like a magical day for me. I literally called up everyone I knew and told them like a miracle happened. He woke up and I could actually kiss his face because it was clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is just fascinating. I had no idea. I'm just gonna let you know. I knew I probably know just about as much as, like, the everyday person. People just go to the grocery not the grocery store, the health food store, homeopathy, and just say, "Oh, this is good for this is good for that," but
Right.
understanding the science
So
and how
homeopathy is
powerful it
not
is.
this for that. It's
No, I get
highly,
it.
highly individualized. And then sometimes, you use specific remedies to open up the case because the picture can be so convoluted based on, the environment, based on if they're already coming from being on medication, this the symptom, the picture of the symptoms can be masked because they're taking other medications or they're on some weird diet or whatever it may be. And so sometimes you need, as a professional homeopath, you start with remedies that you know are going to open up the case so that you can see the picture clearly of the symptomatology.
Yeah, you really have to know your stuff to really go in that
Right.
deep
And
level.
then cure looks like peeling back the layers of an onion. So you just, when you start with remedy, it makes some progress with certain symptoms to a certain level, and then it like plateaus. That remedy will point to the next remedy because they all have relationships with each other. And then the last thing that I wanted to point out is that my son is a mineral, graphite is a mineral. And so what's really cool when working with families is that there will also be similarities too between family members. So whereas my oldest daughter, she's always an animal remedy. She has a strong vital force. She gets symptoms right away, like, from 0 to like 103-degree fever, and then she's over it. Like just as fast as it went up, that's how fast she heals. Whereas my son, he's, it's a gradual, like it just drags on when he gets sick, 3, 4, 5 days for me to see, okay, what is this? Is it a cold, a flu? Like, what is this? It just, the symptoms move so slowly. So the way they get better and the way that it just has to do with their vital force. And that's how you figure out the treatment because it has to match their own vitality, their own force. And so that's just, giving like some general examples, with my daughter being in the animal kingdom, my son being more mineral based remedies work for him. And that's the same thing when I got eczema. I had a patch of eczema on the side of my back here. Um, It was the same remedy as him. And I caught it right at the beginning, and it was the same remedy. So I tend to be a mineral person for my what is called constitutional treatment. So you can homeopath can treat people, and you can have no symptoms, and if you just want to balance your system, balance your body, you can be given a constitutional remedy. And so anytime you feel like you're going out of balance, you take a dose of that, and it should bring you back into balance. And that's what I was so excited to finally be sick enough to have something for me to experience a health transformation through homeopathy. And that happened when I was pregnant with my third child. So I mentioned my first two kids had severe eczema, right? And so I decided when I was pregnant with my third child to get constitutional treatment because I had the sciatica and some heartburn. Not too severe, but I was like, great, I have something to get treated for. And so the remedy, again, was a mineral, and it's called silica. Silica is the most abundant mineral in the earth, and it's found in glass. That's how glass is made, with silica. And it was chosen not so much because of my physical or symptoms that I was complaining. It was chosen based on my emotional state. So when I was pregnant at that time, I would not feel good if there was any disagreement. Like, I only wanted harmony. Like, I felt really bad if anyone was not getting along. I just want everybody to be in harmony. And that's how the remedy was selected. On top of just, yes, it also covers the heartburn and the sciatica on the left side that shoots up, from the foot and shoots up. That all had to be on point too. And so that's how all these remedies are, and why it's so amazing, because you can have one remedy, but it has a whole list of symptoms that it covers, in addition to being known, like, the allium cepa, the onion remedy, knowing that it's good for, a runny nose. There's more than that. And they are called polycrest remedies. Polycrest remedies just cover a large number of symptoms, and they're very common remedies.
You know your stuff. This is incredible. Like I said, listeners, this is new to me too. I never learned at
Wonderful.
this
I'm so glad to
level.
share with
Yeah, I
you.
know a few things, so I'm learning. So I probably have the same questions a lot of the listeners have. But before I do that, I mean, you pretty much cover that there's no one size fits all, and it's
Right.
really understand the problem and the process. Because a
Yeah.
lot of us in this world, oh, I have a headache, take this, and everything goes away. But it might be a number of things. So I'm glad you really covered that thoroughly. But me, I probably have the same questions that a lot of the listeners have, like, wow, I want to know what my constitution is, or what mineral am I, or am I, or am I animal? So what is the process to that for those who are listening? What are a strategy, or what should they look for in regards to getting this, looking into this type of treatment? Where do they start?
Yeah, that is one of the harder things. I always encourage people to connect to the National Center for Homeopathy. It's a nonprofit based in Washington, D.C., or Virginia area. I think they moved. But anyway, they are the biggest promoter. They're the reason why we still have homeopathy, access to homeopathic remedies in this country. They're the largest voice for homeopathy. And that's how I started. You become a member, and they have ongoing webinars. There's also a subscription. There's all these benefits. But that's the starting point for an everyday person that wants to figure out, what is this for? And just quality information to learn, classical homeopathy, because there's all kinds of training that is non-classical. And because the reason is, it started in Germany, and from there were many offshoots and tangents and different types and styles of homeopathy. So I'm a bit of a purist, I admit that. But another form of homeopathy is that I just love. It's called the Banerjee Protocols, and it's based on 3 generations of homeopathic doctors, MDs in India. They kind of put together all of their clinical experience and created these protocols, first line, second line, and third line protocols. But you still have to know, does this remedy suit? You have to know the remedies to know that they suit the person, and certainly figure out, the right dosage and so forth, treatment. So that's another type of homeopathy. There's cycles of homeopathy. There's many different offshoots. So that's where it gets a bit tricky in finding a good local homeopath. But I always encourage people to ask the homeopath of what is their like rate of what is it? You can ask them what is their success rate, basically, and ask them, overall, and getting the right remedy the first time versus the second time. Because, like I said, certain remedies point to other remedies, which is not a bad thing. But yeah, always ask those questions, see what their training is, and so forth. And an important thing to note, though, homeopathy is at least 40 years behind in the US.
I can believe that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
just behind the times in
Yes.
terms of this, more wise and
Yeah. But I
ways of
think it's
healing
turning
naturally.
around. We're
Mhm.
realizing now, yeah, we need to get back to
Yeah.
what true
Yeah, our
healing.
country's great at the modern medicine and,
Yeah,
when you're lying on your deathbed, but for more of the traditional natural remedies, yeah.
exactly. Because one thing I was saying, it started, for your son at birth. But what if you didn't have the tools then? We can imagine how, some of the modern technology would have addressed it and where he would have been now. It would have been
Right.
suppressed probably for many, many years. So,
I'm glad that you brought that word up, suppression. So, in terms of homeopathy's perspective, the homeopathic approach, homeopathy sees, even like steroid cream, because that's what the doctor would have prescribed is some steroid cream. Anytime you take, especially with the skin, anytime you use something else that, just ameliorates the symptoms but is not actually getting at the root of it, you're suppressing the expression of the body. And so when you then decide to turn to homeopathy, it's kind of like you have to undo. There's a lot of undoing because the body has been forced to work a certain way, and now you have to bring it back and say, no, you don't have to go back that way. You can use your own natural resources. The other way homeopathy works is that the remedies don't actually do anything. It's the body that heals itself. So the remedy, if it's the right remedy, it's sending the right frequency to the body. It's kind of like sending an alarm to the body and saying, hey, attention is needed to the skin here, right? We need to work on the skin health, skin vitality. And the body says, oh, okay, I'll get to working on that. And so that's really the mechanism of action for homeopathy. But the remedy itself doesn't do anything.
right. And that's how a lot of people think. What is the thing that'll fix this? But we got to figure out the thing that'll help the body do what it needs to do to heal. And sometimes the symptoms that we deal with, like a runny nose, isn't the problem. It is part of the healing process. So
Yes.
it's about understanding the body, what's right, what's in the right direction, what you said, being intuitive, understanding, going from what you said it earlier, going from sipping to gulping, just understanding. Like if I'm like usually I have water next to me all the time, but then there'd be periods I'm just gulping away. I'm just so thirsty. And I know internally, okay, what is going on with my body? I just can't get enough water. And other days I'm okay with sipping. So try to stay aware of things like that. But I want people to understand we got to start listening to our body day to day, what triggers what activates what, how our body responds to too much sleep, lack of sleep. The list goes
Oh,
on
yeah.
because it's always the body never stops. And you really brought on some key points on not just homeopathy, but how the body actually works and the tools that you use to encourage of healthy functioning bodies. So you did a great job on that. And I know people are going to want to reach out to you and go ahead and drop the Instagrams and all that good stuff because I want if people want to reach out to you, I want them to be able to find you. So where can they find you, Alejandra?
So yes, I'm of course, I have my website, www.solgarciahealth.com, and on Instagram, that's my main social media. So at solgarcia.health. And yeah, my hybrid practice is based in Southern California, but I'm able to work with people all over. And also, one of the things that is a huge benefit for my clients is once, they work with me, they end up by the end of the time that we're done working together, they walk away with their own kit at home. So they're prepared to handle anything that comes up. The way I raised my kids, I had a little kit with all the polycrest, so 50 remedies, a little travel kit. I handled everything. Chicken pox, each kid got a different remedy. Even though they all had the same virus, each kid got a different remedy specific to them. And yeah, my kids didn't, we didn't use antibiotics. We didn't rarely went to the doctor. My oldest had appendicitis, but other than that, I was able to take care of first aid, pre and post surgery or procedures, and not just physical. Again, this is including mental, emotional, as well as, everyday acute illnesses. So including earaches, sore throats, indigestion, any digestive issues, headaches, any back pain, as well as, skin, eye, ear conditions. Yeah, so I definitely, my kids are athletes. My girls are jujitsu. So I definitely have lots of experience with all the skin stuff, shingles, impetigo, atopic dermatitis, ringworm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, because the kids go through so many things, and I'm not an expert in homeopathy, but with my own training, just raising healthy kids, and without any modern treatments. They've gotten through fevers and all the things that kids go through, flus and indigestion and pink eye and all that stuff.
Yes.
It is possible. We just have to support the healing process. But again, for those of you listening, if you're not trained, this is why we're here. That's why I'm sharing the information and talking to other professionals. Get the help. Don't try this on your own. But this is really to help you understand that there are tools out there, there are experts out there that can help you overcome, and there are options. So, we need to really explore those options because I know a lot. I know y'all love me, but we got some other smart, intelligent, qualified people in this world as well. And that's why we're doing this podcast. So, this is good. I'm like all into it. Sometimes I forget I'm the host today, but this is
Yeah,
so
I just want
good.
to finish with one thing. I would say
Yeah, go ahead.
the best time to start homeopathy is when the woman is pregnant. Most people think like, oh, I'm pregnant, I can't take anything, but actually, I mentioned how I was pregnant and started homeopathy with my last child. Well, she was born 10 pounds at home, natural birth, like the healthiest kid, and she started college at 13. So,
Whoa.
and zero eczema.
Woo, this is your
So,
third child?
yes.
Wow. See, this is what the possibilities when you have
Yeah.
when you oh, I could go in another topic, how important it is because
So it's important to
being
notice,
healthy
so
as
when
a
you take the
mother.
remedy, your body is more balanced to grow a healthier baby. Your milk is more balanced, so it's more nutritious for the baby. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Right, because okay, we got a little few more minutes. Because it's like when I had my first kid, that's when I learned I had my prediabetes, fatty liver, and all that stuff, and then after by the time I had my second child, I had home births as well, but I didn't know what I know with the first kid, but the second kid, I applied a lot of the, cellular healing, reducing inflammation, cleansing, reducing my insulin resistance, and even though I didn't heal 100%, I was in way better shape than I was before I had my first child, and he was a much more robust kid. So if I continued, I was 40 when I had him, but if I had another kid, I'd probably be even healthier. And just imagine. So it does make a difference, moms that want to have children. Work on you, because what you do makes a huge impact on the babies. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
It's like generational
Yeah.
health wealth
Yeah.
is what I call it.
Yeah. Because if you're weak, you're going to have the babies are going to kind of get the strongest of your weakness, if that makes sense. That's why generational, I think that's why today generations are just getting weaker.
Less
Gotta be
resilient.
careful of my words, not as intelligent, getting sick earlier. Because doing this for 20 years, I'm seeing problems that didn't exist in children that are happening today. So, this is why I'm trying to get this information out there and just, try to create a healthier world, one podcast at a time.
Definitely.
All right. Any other closing comments before I close for today? And
No, that's pretty much it. But it's important that you support homeopathic manufacturers, remedy manufacturers in the US. That way we can keep having access to this. That's so important.
absolutely.
There needs to be a demand for it.
Well, I hope this enlightened someone. I know it helped me out. But this is good, everybody. Listeners, let me know what you think of this amazing content. You know me, I can go on because I got more questions. But if y'all have questions, let me know. We can always bring her back. But these are a lot of natural tools out there, and just let you know that healing is possible. So thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, go out there and achieve more freedom in your health and your life. Take care. And thank you, Alejandra, for sharing today. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, seal the deal to heal by leaving a review, subscribing to the podcast, and sharing with a friend. Thanks again, and we'll continue the journey next week.